The story of Sifu Frank, Juhung Long McCarthy. Some men study martial arts. Others live it. Sifu Frank, Juhung Long McCarthy is one of those rare individuals whose life has been forged through the discipline, struggle, and spirit of Kung Fu. A third-generation master of the American hungsing Kwoon lineage, Sifu McCarthy is a senior disciple of Sifu Dino Ju Tianlong Salvatierra and a fifth-generation practitioner of the Futs hungsing Kwoon tradition, one of the most respected branches of Choy Li Fut Kung Fu. But his journey didn't begin in temples or academies. It began on the streets of San Francisco. Martial arts were always around him. His father and brother were black belts in karate, and as a young boy, Frank was introduced to the world of combat through judo, karate, and boxing at the Columbia Park Boys Club. Like many kids growing up in the city, fights were a part of life. But Frank wasn't interested in fighting just to fight. He wanted an edge. He wanted something deeper. Then one day in the early 1980s, after his family moved to the Sunset District of San Francisco, he stumbled across something that would change the course of his life forever. Inside a simple garage were men practicing a style of martial art he had never truly seen before. Hungsing Choy Li Fut Kung Fu. They invited him in, and from that day forward, he never left. Under the guidance of Sifu Dino Salvatierra and the Teen Long Kung Fu Club, Frank discovered Hungsing Choy Li Fut, a system that combined power, fluidity, strategy, and ferocity. To him, it had everything he had been searching for in a martial art. It wasn't just fighting. It was a complete system, a way of life. But life would test his resolve again and again. At 19 years old, tragedy struck when Frank fell nearly 50 feet, breaking his back in multiple places. Doctors told him he would never walk again. For many people, that would have been the end of their martial arts journey. For Frank McCarthy, it was only another fight. Kung Fu had already become the driving force of his life, and he refused to let it be taken away. While doctors urged him to accept his fate, he made a declaration that few believed. He would walk again. And he did, against every prediction. 2 months into what was expected to be a 6-month hospital recovery, Frank stood up and walked out of the hospital under his own power. Not just as a man who survived an accident, but as a fighter who refused to surrender. Years later, in the early 1990s, he returned to his Kung Fu school. The road back was brutal. His body was still recovering. His strength and stamina were gone. Some days he couldn't even feel the ground beneath his feet. But quitting was never an option. He trained. He pushed. He fought his way back into the art he loved. He even stepped into competition, earning trophies despite the physical limitations that most people never saw. Where others would have stopped, Frank continued. Because for him, Kung Fu wasn't about perfection. It was about perseverance. His dedication eventually earned him promotion to Sifu, and later he was honored with another responsibility, historian of the hungsing Kwoon lineage. Through deep research and relentless study, he became one of the key voices documenting and preserving the history of the system. In 2001, Sifu McCarthy traveled to China with his teacher to participate in the 150th anniversary celebration of the hungsing Kwoon, standing on the soil where the system had been forged generations before. In 2005, encouraged by his teacher, he began teaching students of his own, carrying forward the hungsing name and continuing the lineage. But Sifu McCarthy's approach to Kung Fu would reflect the realities of the modern world. When mixed martial arts began dominating the conversation around fighting, many traditional systems struggled to answer the challenge. Frank didn't avoid it. He adapted. While many schools focused primarily on forms and demonstrations, Sifu McCarthy pushed his students toward pad work, sparring, conditioning, and real combat application. His goal was simple: make sure his students could use their Kung Fu when it mattered, and it worked. His students tested themselves in real confrontations and competitions, proving that hungsing Choy Li Fut was not just traditional, it was functional. In an era when many dismissed Kung Fu as outdated, Sifu Frank McCarthy and his students demonstrated something different. They showed that when trained properly, Kung Fu could still stand its ground. Today, Sifu Frank McCarthy is recognized not only as a teacher and master, but as a fighter, survivor, historian, and pioneer, a man who helped bridge the gap between traditional Kung Fu and modern combat training. His story is more than the story of a martial artist. It is a story of resilience, of loyalty to one's lineage, and of a man who refused to let life, injury, or doubt take away the one thing he loved most. Kung Fu